Good afternoon, everyone. I thought I would do a short video about what I would change on the PL330. I've actually been thinking about doing a video like this for a while. I've had this radio for a while. If anyone's followed this channel, I've used this radio a lot recently. I've done a bunch of videos with it. And what I'm going to present are 4 things that I would do that would improve the PL330. But first, some ground rules. No major additions to the feature set. So that is, you can't ask for airband, for example. Second, no major technical changes. So soft muting is going to stay between stations. That's going to be a characteristic of this radio. And this is all done to recognize that this is a cheap radio, relatively speaking, right? And major technical changes are going to obviously drive up the cost, and Tecsun has other radios in their lineup that I'm sure they like to sell you for those purposes. And the third rule is to respect the tiny case. It's not going to sound like a radio in a larger case. It's going to be a little tiny radio, and that also means that you can't add a whole bunch of controls over it. Obviously, one of the big issues with this radio is going to be where you put another button. And so if you want something that requires 10 buttons, you're not going to get it. Also, it's pretty clear that Tecsun has a policy, a design language of, it's a radio, we want buttons for things, we're not going to put menus on it. And I think I respect that. I think that's a smart move. So with that, those ground rules remarked, I will turn my page over here back to the 4 things that I would like to see added to the Tecsun PL330. In no particular order. The first thing I would like to see is a change to the clock, and that would involve adding one more button up here, and I would like to see a second time zone. I have that on the Sanjian 909X2, something like the Grundrake Traveler 2, or radios in that series have very complex clocks. I'd like to see this have a second time zone, so that you could keep one on, I usually keep it on UTC, but you could, if you travel to California here from Toronto all the time, then you could keep it on California. That, I think, would be a great improvement to this and allow you to keep your home time and your travel time separate, which would be great. On the Sanjian, the world time, you set the world time to whatever you want, and it does actually know the difference, like Toronto's, -5 UTC, right? That sort of thing. It does know that sort of stuff. So you can switch between them quite easily. Now, this is a big ask and violates my rules, but if you were to doing that, you could also have the ETM Plus function switch depending on which clock you had set. So then you could effectively use that to switch between 2 different locations for using ETM Plus. Again, useful for people who did routine international traveling to a single location back and forth. Okay, but that's a big ask, and probably there's memory limitations in the chipsets that they're using. The second thing, and this is not a problem I've had myself, but it's a problem other people have reported, is I would like an attenuator on the FM antenna. That would be probably hardware, probably just a resistor, but in any event, a DX local switch for the antenna input. And that would solve any problems with overloading with larger external antennas. Again, given the relatively short antennas that I can use in my location, that hasn't been an issue for me. But I know other people have reported it, and that seems like a fairly straightforward response to that problem. The second switch I would like, and this could probably be done electronically, and you could have a button here, would be I would like a high cut switch on the audio. The speaker in here is shrill enough. It would be nice if you were listening to for some of the shortwave listening to have a high cut position. And that would seem to me to be fairly straightforward to implement in this radio. And the final thing is one that has been fixed in the PL320 from what I've seen, and that is there's no excuse if this doesn't have a stand. There's plenty of room here. This has the speaker behind it, I suspect. I suspect they could squeeze a stand of some sort in on the back of this, even if you made it marginally thicker. You don't lose anything because you already have the little bumps there for the antenna swivel here. So give us a little stand right back there, bounce up, let us have it on a stand. So that would be the 4 things that I would add. A slight improvement to the clock to provide a second time zone. The attenuator on the, I don't think there's any need for it on the built-in antenna. It would only need to go on the antenna in, and the high cut switch for the audio, and finally the stand, which, as I said, is already on the PL320, which looks like it's probably just a downgraded firmware version of this radio. So why couldn't we have that? So Tecsun, if you're upgrading this radio, that would be what I would do. And I would say that the clock would make this a totally unbeatable travel radio. All right, thank you for watching.